Hello everyone! Welcome to video 2 of two-way ANOVA. Here we are looking at the first set of hypothetical results for our lecture example, examining the effects of gender and frustration on aggression. Right, so we have a two-way between subjects ANOVA going on here, and that we have two independent variables, gender and frustration, and then we have one outcome here, levels of aggression. Now, before we get into it, I would highly recommend that you draw these hypothetical results out on a piece of paper in your notebook and take notes as we go along. You may have been just watching the videos and not taking detailed notes, but here I would highly recommend that you pause the video, copy this down, and take notes. All right. But anyways, the first thing I want to point out here is the cell means, right? Here we have the cell means or the mean aggression scores for the four independent groups, right? Because we have four independent groups. We have women under low frustration, we have women under high frustration, and then we have men under low frustration, and then men under high frustration. So as you can see, under low frustration, women have a aggression score of 1. And under high frustration, women have a score of 9. And then under low frustration, men have a score of 1. And under high frustration, a score of 9. So these are our cell means. Now, you'll notice that on the side, we have some boxes too. And here is where we are going to calculate the marginal means. And the marginal means assess the main effects. So the marginal means assess the main effects. There's some alliteration going on here. Marginal means main effects. All right, so the marginal means are going to tell us whether we have any main effects. So here, the marginal means here will be the marginal means for gender. And so we'll assess whether there are overall, regardless of frustration, gender differences in aggression between men and women. And then down here, where the marginal means for frustration are going to be. And so these marginal means will tell us if there are, regardless of gender overall, any differences in aggression between those participants randomly assigned to the low versus high frustration condition. Right? So marginal means assess main effects. The cell means are going to be important for assessing whether there is going to be an interaction. Right? So cell means are about assessing whether there is an interaction. And so as we go through these results here, it's important to note that we're going to assume any difference in these examples is a significant difference. All right. We're not getting into SPSS output yet because things get much more complicated once we get into the SPSS output, right? So once we get into the SPSS output, we're going to have p-values that are going to tell us which means significantly differ. Here, as we just go through some hypothetical results here, we're going to assume any difference is a significant difference here. We'll assume that the p-value is less than or equal to 0.05, just for simplicity, just to start at. All right. So let's calculate the marginal means first. And so we'll start out with the main effect of gender, right? So we need to calculate a marginal mean for women and then a marginal mean for men. And we'll assume that we have equal numbers of participants in all the different cells and the independent groups. So we're just going to do a simple average. So for women here, we're just going to do 1 plus 9 divided by 2. And then for men here, 1 plus 9 divided by 2. So 1 plus 9, 10 divided by 2, that gives us 5, right? So the marginal mean for women will be 5, and the marginal mean for men will be 5. And then we're going to use the same approach here, looking at the main effect of frustration. So we're going to do... Sorry, reveal does a little bit too soon, but we're going to do a marginal mean for low frustration and then a marginal mean for high frustration. And again, we're just going to do a simple average 1 plus 1 divided by 2 gives us 1, and then 9 plus 9 divided by 2 will give us 9. All right. So those are the marginal means. So again, we're going to use the marginal means to figure out whether there are main effects, a main effect of gender and then a main effect of frustration. So is the main effect of gender significant? So looking here, right, looking at the marginal mean for women and for men, right, is the main effect of gender significant? No, right? These means are the same, so we'll treat those means as non-significantly different. Is the main effect of frustration here significant? Yes, right? Because we're assuming, again, any difference in these hypothetical results is a significant difference, right? So we are seeing a numerical difference here for the marginal means under low versus high frustration, right? People are exhibiting greater aggression under high versus low frustration. So far, we know that overall there's no gender difference. There's no significant main effect of gender. There is a significant main effect of frustration, such that people are exhibiting greater aggression under high frustration versus low. Now we're going to move to sort of probing whether there is an interaction between gender and frustration. So we're asking the question now is, so we're not finding a gender difference overall, right? There's no difference between men and women on their levels of aggression. Now, are we going to see that, or are we going to now see, is this non-difference going to replicate across both low and high frustration? That is, we're not finding a gender difference overall, no difference between men versus women, right? Are we going to see that pattern replicate under low and high frustration? And then we're also going to ask the question, all right, now we're seeing, we do see a difference overall between low and high frustration. People are exhibiting greater aggression under high versus low frustration. Now, is that pattern going to hold for both men and for women? Right? Because an interaction is when the effect of one variable is different or changes across the levels of the other. So is this effect frustration, is this main effect of frustration, is that going to replicate for men and for women? Is the effect of gender here going to replicate for under high and low frustration? Right. But I'll stop there. We'll do another video to discuss the interaction